Hello everyone, this is Direwolf20, and welcome to episode 66 of Direwolf20's Let's Play series. Hey, today I'm getting a whole bunch of sugarcane. Wow, that's a lot of sugarcane. Yeah, sugarcane away. Man, those sugarcanes, they grow pretty tall in this pack. I'm just saying. Whew! That ain't no joke. That sugarcane ain't no joke. Look at it go. I think it's still breaking. So today I want to get into some progression with PneumaticRoom. As I mentioned, PneumaticRoom has a bunch of really cool and fun things to play with. In order to get to them, though, we have to progress through the mod, and luckily for me, progression through the mod is pretty fun. There's a bunch of cool stuff that you have to figure out automations for, and there's some fun automation challenges. So I will be today working through some of them. So let's talk about some of the resources we're going to need while I harvest all the sugarcane. And as we talk about the resources I need, you'll see why I want sugar. So in general, there's a couple fluid resources that we can get from PneumaticRoom. Crude oil, I think this is the PneumaticRoom crude oil, is one of them. We can find this in the world. I don't think we can produce it unless we get into bees, which is fine. Or we can, pump it with industrial foregoing lasers, which we might wind up trying out. I'm not sure. I don't know. We'll see. But the gist is there's lots and lots of, and I want some sugar because I want to replant this stuff. And I also don't want it to be nighttime, so let's do that. So oil we can find in the world. That's one thing. And that crude oil can be used to make a bunch of cool stuff from PneumaticRoom. That said, however, there's 4 fluids that crude oil can be turned into. There's diesel, kerosene, gasoline, and LPG. So these 4 fluids here. Okay, kerosene really isn't used for a whole lot, except for turning into gasoline, or it can be used as a fuel. Okay, gasoline isn't really used for a whole lot, except as a fuel, or turned into LPG. Okay, so these 2 are basically fuels, or can be down converted into LPG. Your diesel is useful because diesel can be used to make lubricant, which is a useful resource that's used to make speed upgrades in PneumaticRoom. So lubricant is super cool and good to have. Okay, and then LPG is the most important one. LPG is used to make plastic. Okay, so LPG plus coal turns into plastic, and that plastic is used for all kinds of stuff in the pack. It's how we get transistors and empty PCBs and capacitors. So empty PCBs are a resource that will be used to make finished PCBs, and that's how you get like all the cool endgamey stuff, right? So your empty PCB is kind of your goal, and to eventually make the finished PCB, which also needs capacitors and transistors, which also need plastic. So plastic is really kind of like the resource that you need to progress through in order to get finished PCBs, which you can use to get all the cool endgamey stuff from PneumaticRoom. And that's what I want to work towards today, is that automation. So with that in mind, there's really 2 resources that we want. That is LPG and lubricant. Okay. Well, LPG and diesel, right? So realistically, diesel is one, and molten plastic is the other. Now, there's an alternate recipe for molten plastic and lubricant, and that involves biodiesel. So instead of diesel, you can use biodiesel to make lubricant. And instead of LPG, you can use biodiesel to make molten plastic. So instead of finding an oil well and pumping it dry and then processing it and then having to keep finding new oil wells, I'm going to automate biodiesel because biodiesel can be fully automated. And that's pretty cool. So we're not going to do oil right now. We're going to do biofuel, and that will be, in the long run, better in my opinion. Cool? And I like it because it's like fully automatable. Okay, so there's 2 resources we need to get. First, we need ethanol. And ethanol is pretty straightforward. We need to get some yeast culture, and we can use either potatoes or sweet berries or apples or watermelon slices or sugar. All right, so all kinds of resources that we've already automated. Specifically, potatoes is probably what I'll use. Though I might use poisonous potatoes if I have enough of them, but we'll probably fall back to potatoes. Okay. Now, yeast culture is an interesting one. If you have a bunch of mushrooms, you can use water to turn mushrooms into yeast culture. That's fine. Or you can do an in-world transformation. So once you have some yeast culture, we'll have to get it this way first. But once you have some, you place a yeast culture source block of fluid next to a water source block of fluid, drop some sugar into the yeast culture, and it'll convert the water into yeast culture. So in other words, sugar turns into yeast culture. That's all it is, right? It's just literally you place a source block of water down, which we know water is infinite, drop a piece of sugar in there, and it turns into yeast culture. That's going to be a fun automation challenge because we're going to do some stuff. I've done this automation challenge before. I always just kind of like come up with a new way to do it every time. I always kind of forget the way I did it in the past. So we'll come up with a fun way to do it this time, okay? And then finally, the next thing we need is seed oil from... I'm going to get the PneumaticRoom one, because there is also create plants, crafts, and additions, which apparently doesn't have a recipe, so we can skip that. So seed oil is really easy. You just get seeds, and that's it. Cool. Seeds, done. Easy peasy. Cool. So I think we've got a healthy amount of seeds. We've got a healthy amount of potatoes. We've got a healthy now amount of sugarcane. We should be cool to rock and roll. Good deal? So I'm going to replant all my sugarcane so that this can grow to ridiculous heights again. And now, let's go over here and start working on the things we're going to need to make this happen. So I think I will start with the yeast culture, because that's going to kind of be one of the fun ones to make. So to get that, we're going to need a thermopneumatic processing plant. And I don't have any of the things that I need to make that happen. So let's go teach it how to make some of this stuff. So these guys we do know how to make, so we can make that easily. And then you, I think I've been making, but we'll, add them to the list as well. Cool. All right, so you guys go there and hang out. Now if I control click this, we should be good to go. Excellent. Perfect. All right. Try saying that 3 times fast. Good point. Thermopneumatic processing plant. All right, so this guy gets placed in the world, and he does a couple things. So there's a lot going on in this UI, but it's not that hard. There's a new mechanic that we haven't seen yet in this, and that's called heat. Heat is pretty easy. Different machines require different heat levels to do different things. The thermopneumatic processing plant, for example, has a bunch of recipes, and some of them require heat, some of them require heat and pressure, some of them just require pressure. And you can see it on the tooltips here. So for this one, for example, it doesn't matter what pressure it's at, as long as there's temperature at a certain level, it's good. And generally speaking, the higher the temperature, the faster it runs, right? So turning seed oil into salmon tempura does not need any pressure, it only needs heat. Same for biodiesel. Biodiesel turning into plus redstone turning into lubricant, no pressure needed, but does need to be over 100 degrees in temperature. Over here, turning seeds into vegetable oil is only going to be pressure, doesn't require heat. Okay. However, turning gasoline into LPG requires both temperature and heat. So pay attention to the tooltip there. You'll see what's going on. Okay. So let's start with actually the seeds. I'm going to get some seed oil here. Where do I want to set this up is an exceptional question, because I haven't really built out the room that this is going to live in yet. So I feel like maybe we run this along. Usually I have this guy be like kind of the center of the room. I'm not sure if I want that to be the case this time. Maybe I'll have like some kind of wall or something. Yeah, I should really build a room and then like build the machines inside the room. Let me think about that for a sec. So here's what I'm thinking, like maybe a 15 by 23-ish style room. That could be cool. Yeah, I like that. I like that idea because that's like, 1.5 times wider than it is deep. So about there-ish is where we'd want to be. Okay. And I'm using small andesite bricks from Rechiseled, which seem pretty cool. Is that there-ish? Is that lined up properly? That looks good to me. Okay. And then walls. All right, now tell me how this feels. Pretty good, I hope. Sure, why not? And I might use some cobbled deep slate pillars to go along with that, but we'll see. Maybe just to break some things up a little bit. Yeah, that feels pretty good. I like this. You know, we'll definitely want some kind of door in the middle, or maybe like maybe over here would be a cool place for a door. I don't know. I haven't fully thought it out, obviously, but this should be relatively reasonably okay-ish. How do you like that? Is that cool looking? Yeah, that's feeling pretty good. Now a roof of some kind. All right, if I'm not mistaken, this should work. We'll see what happens. Nice. That's pretty cool. Are we out of clear glass now? We might be. Man, glass, you take a long time to cook. Getting there. But yeah, this looks pretty good, right? Not terrible, at least, I would say, hopefully. Yeah, not bad at all. Okay. Now I just need a door, which I didn't really plan for. How about in the corner? Who says doors need to be in the middle of a room? I like that plan. Yes, excellent. Does that look cool? I think that looks pretty cool. And then if I have to move things around in here, I will. Deal? I think that's good. I like this pillar thing that I did. I think that looks really cool. And that's where, like, these things come off. Like, I think that looks good, right? Doesn't it look good? I think it's cool. All right, let's get to work, shall we? So the first thing I'm going to make is the seed oil, or the vegetable oil, right? So that's just any seeds go into a pneumatic press with 2 bars of pressure applied, or more. Definitely can be more. So I'm going to run a pressure line off of my tank here. So if we just go across, eventually we'll run into some dirt probably, and that's where my tank is. Yeah, right? Now the tank's center should be here-ish. So I should be able to relatively quickly, why you know, stop making noise. Is it because I don't have the pipe hooked up? That might be why. I was hoping to be, like, clever about that, but apparently I failed. There we go. I forgot. I think you do have to have the valve. I forgot that this valve is not smart enough to not leak air when there's nothing connected to it. For some reason, I think the old version of PneumaticCraft might have been that you can have a valve without anything hooked up to it, but now you can't. So that's on me. That's okay. We just wasted a little bit of ethylene. We'll live, right? Yeah, I think we'll be fine. We'll be just fine. So now we're building up pressure in here, and we can just throw seeds in. And then once we hit 2 bars of pressure inside here, and you'll notice that as soon as I put the seeds in, it tells you what pressure you need, right? And then you can also check out here the problems. No big deal. So yeah, now you're going to start producing that oil for me. Now, do you auto-eject? Is there an auto-eject upgrade from PneumaticCraft? I forget. There's a bunch of upgrades. I feel like auto-eject might be one of them. Coordinate tracker, dispenser upgrade. I think that's it, right? Eject to right-click any block to set eject direction. Yeah, so I wanna make a dispenser upgrade for you. You don't know how to make dispensers? I should probably teach you how to make dispensers. That feels like a craft that would be nice to have on AutoCraft, right? And maybe I should add a travel anchor. Which one is this? Travel anchor is travel anchor. Travel anchor from travel anchors. Yes, give me one of those so that I can go mage tower. I should really have 2 of them, right? 1 for the mage tower. We should have 1 for the create workshop. Cool. And then we should have 1 final one for pressure room. That sounds like a fun name for it. Cool. I like it. So now we can easily zip around. All right, cool. So now you're getting pressure. You're getting the vegetable oil. I can request a dispenser upgrade here, auto-craft the dispenser component for it, and now we can install this upgrade, which is cool. I think what you want to do is click on a block like that, and you'll see it says eject to up. So like here, that's the north side of the block, right? So like I'm facing south, so that's the north side of the block. So you click on the side of the block, and that specifies what side to eject to. I want to eject to up, and then I want to get a tank. Basic fluid tank or a PneumaticRoom fluid tank? I guess we could do a PneumaticRoom fluid tank, right? We're doing PneumaticRoom things. We should do PneumaticRoom things. That works, right? So now you're auto filling up with vegetable oil, which is what we want. Deal? Cool. So he'll build up a bunch of vegetable oil for us, and eventually I'll bring the applied logistics system over here and hook everything up. But for now, we're just going to do stuff, right? So I don't think we care about heat in this machine, in this recipe, so we don't have to worry about the insulation of the block. But we'll worry about block insulation in a minute for the next one, I think, because it does require heat. That said, we need to get our first yeast culture. So for that, our temperature needs to be between 30 and 60 degrees. So this is an important one. Some temperatures, like the higher it is, the faster it is. For yeast, if it's too hot, it doesn't work. So you have to keep it at just the right temperature in order to make your first bits of yeast. And you'll notice that with mushrooms, I get 250 millibuckets of yeast culture. So I'm going to get another thermopneumatic processing plant, right? And that dude is going to be responsible for making heat and yeast culture. We're going to need mushrooms, okay? 4 of them should be cool because that'll be a bucket's worth, yes. And 4 buckets of water. So let's get, I know I have a bucket in here somewhere because I put it away earlier. Yes, I did. Cool. I'll just get some water. Sweet. Okay. So now you are going to need some heat. So to get heat, there's a bunch of ways that we can heat things up. If we want, I think we can just place like a bucket of lava next to it, and that'll be one way. But we'll see what happens. Oh yeah, see, that was way too hot. See how hot it got? Yeah, that's not good. So I think there's a thing that tells us the different heat sources. Not really what I'm looking for. But see, now we're at the ideal temperature, but we're going to eventually drop below it. If I look at you, are you going to tell me the heat temperature values? I know lava can be used for a lot of things. Here it is, block heat properties. This is the thing you want to look for. Different resources have different heat properties, right? So look for something that's going to be right around the number we want, between 30 and 60. Now there's another way to generate heat, which uses pressure. That's the vortex tube, I think it's called. But I just want to look to see if I can find anything that would be like not insanely bad. Sulfur trioxide, none of these are good. Sulfur trioxide is like the only thing, whatever that is. I'm not going to go make liquid sulfur trioxide. I'm not going to go make that. So what I could do is get a vortex tube. Oh, you know what we should do? We should feral flare lantern this place, shouldn't we? We should. Because it's going to get dark soon. Okay. So what I should do is vortex tube this. So the vortex tube from PneumaticRoom takes pressure and turns it into heat and cold. So you'll notice there's a red side and a blue side. So the red side is where it's going to emit heat from, and the blue side is where it's going to emit cold from. So if you want your temperature to drop, you face the blue side. If you want your temperature to go up, you face the red side. Okay? So what I'm going to do is bring this guy right over here. And if I put him here, we'll see that our temperature is kind of going up, but that's like way too hot, right? And that's not great. I don't want that to be so hot. Give me a sec to think about how I'm going to keep this at the right temperature. Uranium block might be my solution. So there's two things, actually, that you want to pay attention to with these guys. Number one is the temperature, but the other is the thermal resistance, which is a measure of how fast the heat is able to move in and around the block. So if you find a block with low thermal resistance, it won't heat up too fast. So again, I really only need like this to be at this range for a few seconds. I don't need this to always be at this temperature range. I only need to make one bucket of this fluid and then we'll be cool, right? So let's put our 4 stuff in here. You'll notice that our temperature range is not ideal. If I place down the uranium block, it'll go into the range and it'll be enough to start making the yeast culture. How cool is that? And then it'll continue to slowly rise. It will eventually get above 60. But if I'm fast enough, I should be able to manage to make this real quick. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to let this cook, and then we'll be cool. Okay, almost there. Come on, yeast culture. If I can make 1, I can make the other 4. It's just a little bit of paying close attention to it. But I think we're actually in good shape here. Yeah, uranium block was definitely the way to do this. Yeah, because he's like hanging out at 39C. That's cool. You know what it is also is the lack of insulation here is also contributing to that. Because blocks, when they're exposed to air around them, lose their heat. So I think we actually found like the perfect block to keep us at the perfect temperature. The only downside with this is all blocks, when they're used as a heat property, will eventually they have a certain amount of heat they can give off, and then they'll decompose down to something else. So uranium turns into lead blocks, for example. Snow turns into ice. Like if we go over here, you'll see like soul campfires burn out. Torches don't really do much. Yeah, like magma blocks turn into netherrack. Blaze mesh turns into glowstone. Lava turns into obsidian. So eventually, when its heat capacity empties, it just converts into the other thing, right? But yeah, I think uranium actually is perfect for this purpose, only because we have air exposure. So some of the heat's being lost. That's cool. All right, so now we've got a bucket of yeast culture, right? That should be pretty cool. Yoinks. Feeling cultured. Very nice. And now I can snag this uranium block and just put it back away because we don't need it no more. And this thermopneumatic processing plant will be doing other things in the near future. So let's recap exactly how this works, okay? Because I forget. But what we want is a bucket of water, and we want some sugar. And I think we just place the water here, and then we drop the sugar into the yeast culture. And turn off our magnet for a sec. Or does the sugar need to be there, and then we place the water? Yes, that's what it is. The order of operations is important. So we want so you can't have the water there until the sugar's there, okay? So see? Okay, or you can. That's cool. Or you can. Wasn't working a second ago. But it looks like maybe the order of operations is not that important. I guess we'll see. Okay, so water's there. We drop our sugar. Interesting. Yes, I think order of operations is important. Like, yeah, see, it is important. So basically, what you want to do is place the sugar first, and then place the water. Just be aware that, see, that's weird to me. Yeah, the problem is that when it becomes flowing yeast, the sugar will quickly flow over. See? It slides over. So you want to be careful about that too. So you kind of don't want to let it slide over if you can. So what you want to do probably is like put it there. And there you go. See? So we're going to have to figure out a process whereby we don't let the yeast flow to the left, right? So that the sugar doesn't flow over. And we also have to like detect when the sugar's there before we place the water source block. That's the automation challenge that we have ahead of us. All right, let's see what we can do about placing fluids in the world, right? So you are the fluid placer from Cyclic. Let's get our water here. Can I not just click water onto you? Because that would be too easy. I assume that to be the case. Okay, tank. Right, and you've got water, and then let's do this. You should now drain water into that. There you go. Cool. Requires redstone, always on. Requires redstone, always on. So you need redstone to place. Okay. So if you're always on, you won't do that. Okay, that's fair. Now if I do this and that, you're fast. Good. That's what I wanted to see. Cool. Okay, good. So you won't overwrite a flowing block. That's good to know. Right? So there's water in there. He won't overwrite the flowing block. Interesting. Interesting. And then how about a collector of fluids? Fluid collector into an internal tank. Right. So I'm going to get one of you. I have an idea for this. You ready? This should actually work pretty well. So if I place you here, okay, so you're going to, oh my, you can collect from that big of an area? That's kind of cool. But I want your height to be 0 and your range size to be also 0, so that you can only collect from that spot. Cool. Requires redstone, always on. You need power? Oh, you need power. Okay, well, let's get some flux power in here for a second. So in the past, I've done this with like a really complex integrated dynamic setup. This time I'm going to try to do it a little bit more simply. So let's see what we can come up with, okay? So you're going to place water whenever you can. You're only going to collect water when there's a redstone signal, or do I want you to always collect? For now, let's make you collect with a redstone signal, okay? And I'll tell you why. Because I want to have you placed, and I'm going to put sugar here, and if I do that, that should be quick. Cool. Okay. And now I want you to always on. Shouldn't you be collecting? Fluid collector. This is the part where you shine. Why you don't want to collect fluids? That is a fluid, I promise. Yes, it is. Fluid collector, do your job. Huh. He does not want to collect, does he? No, he does not. Do I need to filter him of some kind? Fluid collector. Is there like a tooltip that I'm not paying attention to? Replacing collected fluids with blocks from its internal buffer will not collect fluid unless it has a replacement block in its buffer to prevent lag. What? What? Nobody wants that to be the case. Nobody wants that to be the way that works. Veto that. Veto, veto, veto. Okay. Thinking for a second. We could use the fluid collector from Industrial Foregoing. We could also apply to Energistics this guy, which I might consider. The thing is, I want to make sure that we can redstone control it, because I want to, ultimately, here's what I want to do. I want to leave the source block here until we place a piece of sugar. And when we place a piece of sugar, I want it to pick up the source block, put down a water block, and it'll happen very quickly such that the sugar doesn't have time to flow over. Okay. So maybe instead of these fluid places, we could do this with AE. Are they called planes? Yeah. Annihilation plane and formation plane. Can you place fluids in the world? That's a question. Can you place fluids in the world? I feel like you should be able to. Maybe. Let's do this. Formation plane. I'm just going to make one. And we're going to test it and see if he can place water. And if he can, I might use this. Because I don't know if I've ever done it this way before, and I'd like to try... I always like to do things in a different way, right? Oh, look at you, you're full. Hey, we finally filled up 64,000 items. Sweet. Okay. I'm hoping that I have channels available here, right? So if I do that, and I do this... Okay, so your formation plane, blocks will be placed as a block, blocks will be dropped as an item. Okay. Can I drag just like water in here? And you'll place water in the world? Maybe. Now the trick with the formation plane is that when you put water in the system, it's going to right-click to store water. There you go. That's what I wanted to see if it would do. So formation planes won't automatically place stuff. It's always been kind of a pet peeve of mine with formation planes, is that I'd like to be able to say, like, just place it. But the way it works is, like, when water enters the system, it will put it there. Okay? So what we would need to do is have, like, an importer that triggers on redstone, and when we import water, it'll get placed there. And that should work. Now, here's a question. Will it overwrite an existing fluid? Okay. So to test that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get lava and place it there. And will you overwrite lava? So to test that, what I do is I do this. He does. He overwrites an existing fluid. That might not be great, because I want to make sure that he can't place unless the yeast is gone. I want him to place like the moment the yeast gets picked up. That doesn't really work for me. I want to make sure the yeast gets picked up. That's not great. Priority. What upgrades can you have? Fuzzy, inverter, and capacity card. Yeah, none of those are going to do anything. Okay. So that may not be the answer to my problems. What other placer was there? There are fluid placers from Industrial Foregoing. Pedestals has a placer. There's a placer module from modular routers, right? All these things are definitely possible. Let's try fluid placer here. You need iron gears. I just want to see like which one of these blocks would be useful for us. Okay, so you also need power. I hear you, weird Enderman, who for some reason is allowed to show up. Come here, you. You are clearly not the answer to my problems, so you're going to get picked up. You're going to get picked up, fluid placer. Though that fluid placer might be acceptable, right? Because he did do kind of a good job. You know, when he's always on. You know what, the fluid placer here is not terrible. This one might be acceptable. Yeah, we could maybe do that. Maybe we'll use the fluid placer with the AE annihilation plane. That could be cool. That could be cool, because he did do an acceptable job. right? He did do what I wanted him to do, which was I don't want you to be able to... Right, so you've got water in you, you're always on. I don't want you to overwrite an existing fluid. Right? That's kind of cool. So yeah, maybe. So what we could try, I might want to do like an annihilation plane, right? But can I filter you? I can't filter the annihilation plane. Okay, that's fair. That's okay. I'm going to have a storage bus, and you're going to do yeast culture is what you're allowed to do. Okay, so if I put you here, okay, and then we picked up yeast culture. Yeah, you're also not doing what I would hope you would do. That's not great. Do you pick up water? That worked, interestingly enough. Did you see that work? I saw it work. Did you see it work? It 100% worked, right? Yeah, that's what I want you to do, but with yeast culture. Huh. I wonder if I'm, do I have channels problems here? No, I only have 7 channels in use. So that storage bus should be working. And I can see yeast culture, yes. And you are insert and extract. All right, I think I'm gonna have to play with this a little bit more. So how about this? For now, Delta 20 sign off. We'll come back next time, and I'm gonna come up with a solution that'll be cool. But gotta wrap up. So for now, take it easy.